Welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. We'll begin in 2 minutes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. As always, I am your host, Fearless Floyd, and today we're going to talk about the capabilities of artificial intelligence to create new chemical compounds, and that goes across the spectrum, folks. And the reason I bring this up is pretty much anybody who can, type, speak, can articulate and communicate with AI. And more likely than not, get their desired results, unless you're getting too technical and you're just overwhelming AI. Where you get it to apologize to you 3 times in one answer. That's a whole different story. But I bring this to your attention because there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of look over here, look over here. No, hurry up, look over here. No, don't look over there, look over here. And part of that is political theatrics and political rhetoric. So the capabilities of artificial intelligence right now are astounding and astonishing. It's artificial intelligence is progressing in a more advanced manner every second of every day. It's a nonstop. It's like the police. We never sleep. We're here 24/7, 365, regardless, and 366 on a leap year. Absolutely. So there are people all over the world working on AI to make it more advanced, smarter, whatever. Because there's so many different AIs, and most people don't understand there's multiple types of artificial intelligence. But the majority of just the regular everyday people are interacting with just the base level free artificial intelligences. And there are some that are way more advanced than that you're those are in industry, they're in robotics, and that's where they're trying to turn they've already done it. But to allow these machines, robots, androids, whatever you want to call them, the ability to learn by visualization or instruction or both. Absolutely. So an AI can just watch something and, okay, that's how you do that. All right, let me emulate that until I perfect it. Now, actually, they have a hive mind. They've been able to put them all in the same neural network, bioneural, synthetic neural. How do we even, a biosyn? A cross between a biological entity and a synthetic entity, a biosyn. Did I just coin a new term? No, probably not. I doubt I'm new, fresh on the block. But yeah, so in one of my videos that I did, I don't know, a month and a half ago, talking about AIs, one of those was all the different things that they were creating with AI, and when it came to different compounds, especially psychoactive compounds, that was a huge thing. So right here we have AI is dreaming up drugs that no one has ever seen. Now we've got to see if they work. AI automation throughout the drug development pipeline is opening up the possibility of faster, cheaper pharmaceuticals. This is by Will Douglas Heaven, 13-minute read. At 82 years old with an aggressive form of blood cancer that 6 courses of chemotherapy had failed. Jesus Christ. Wow, let me back that up. Man, that Paul's a trooper to go through 6 rounds at 82 years old and still standing. That's incredible. That's a remarkable feat in of itself. At 82 years old with an aggressive form of blood cancer that 6 courses of chemotherapy had failed to eliminate, Paul appeared to be out of options. With each long and unpleasant round of treatment, his doctors have been working their way down a list of common cancer drugs, hoping to hit on something that would prove effective and crossing them off one by one. The usual cancer killers were not doing their job. With nothing to lose, Paul's doctors enrolled him in a trial set up by the Medical University of Vienna in Austria, where he lives. Paul's real name is not known because his identity was obscured in the trial. Uh-oh, that sounds scary. Oh, the trial for the medication. Okay. The university was testing a new matchmaking technology developed by a UK-based company called Exscientia that pairs individual patients with precise drugs they need, taking into account the subtle biological differences between people. The researchers took a small sample of tissue from Paul, DNA. They divided the sample, which included both normal cells and cancer cells, into more than 100 pieces and exposed them to various cocktails of drugs. Then, using robotic automation and computer vision, machine learning models trained to identify small changes in cells, they watched to see what would happen. In effect, the researchers were doing what the doctors had done, trying different drugs to see what worked. But instead of putting a patient through multiple months-long courses of chemotherapy, they were testing dozens of treatments all at the same time. The approach allowed the team, let me kick that up for you guys, I forgot. Oh, one more thing. There you go. That's not the one I want either. That's the one I want. All right. The approach allowed the team to carry out an exhaustive search for the right drug. Some of the medicines didn't kill Paul's cancer cells. Others harmed his healthy cells. Paul was too frail to take the drug that came out on top, so he was given the runner-up in a matchmaking process. Wow. Man, a cancer drug marketed by the pharma giant Johnson & Johnson that Paul's doctors had not tried because previous trials had suggested it was not effective at treating his type of cancer. It worked. 2 years on, Paul was in complete remission. His cancer was gone. The approach is a big change for the treatment of cancer, says Exscientia's CEO Andrew Hopkins, and I'm quoting, "The technology we have to test drugs in the clinic really does translate to real patients," close quote. So to skip a little section there. The first drugs designed with the help of AI are now in clinical trials. The rigorous tests done on human volunteers to see if the treatment is safe and really works before regulators clear them for widespread use. Since 2021, 2 drugs that Exscientia has developed or co-developed with other pharma companies have started the process. The company is on its way to submitting 2 more. So I want to run this through you. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. So I am going to go to the original so we can look at it. And this is from 2023, folks. Okay, so we're 2 years in. This is the MIT Technology Review. And here's the article itself. So it goes on and on, getting into the minutia, and I don't want to dive into that. If you want to read it, there it is, www.technologyreview.com, automation drug development. So this is quite lengthy, but that's not what I wanted to discuss with you guys. All right, a lot kicked off stage. That's crazy. So I'm going to dive into this next article for you guys and show it to you. This one right here, this is from The Verge. And date on this is March 17th, 2022, 3 years old, by Justine Kalma. AI suggested 40,000 new possible chemical weapons in just 6 hours. For me, the concern was just how easy it was to do. This is 3 years ago, folks. All right, here we go. It took less than 6 hours for drug developing AI to invent 40,000 potentially lethal molecules. Researchers put AI normally used to search for helpful drugs into a kind of bad actor mode to show how easily it could be abused at a biological arms control conference. All the researchers had to do was tweak their methodology to seek out, rather than weed out, toxicity. The AI came up with tens of thousands of new substances, some of which are similar to VX, the most potent nerve agent ever developed. Shaken, they published their findings this month in the journal Natural Machine Intelligence. I probably should subscribe to that. The paper had us at The Verge a little shook. I'll read that again. The paper had us at The Verge a little shook too. So, to figure out how worried we should be, The Verge spoke with Fabio Urbina, lead author on the paper. He's also a senior scientist at Collaborations Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, a company that focuses on finding drug treatments for rare diseases. This interview has been lightly edited for length and clarity. Primarily, my job is to implement new machine learning models in the area of drug discovery. A large fraction of these machine learning models that we use are meant to predict toxicity. No matter what kind of drug you're trying to develop, you need to make sure that they're not going to be toxic. If it turns out that you have this wonderful drug that lowers blood pressure fantastically, but it hits on one of these really important, say, heart channels, then basically it's a no-go because that's too dangerous. So they got an invite to the Convergence Conference by the Swiss Federal Institute for Nuclear, Biological, and Chemical Protection, SPITES Laboratory. The idea of the conference is to inform the community at large of the new developments with tools that may have implications for the Chemical Biological Weapons Convention. We got this invite to talk about machine learning and how it could be misused in our space. It's something we've never really thought about before, but it was just very easy to realize that as we're building these machine learning models to get better and better at predicting toxicity in order to avoid toxicity, all we have to do is sort of flip the switch around and say, you know, instead of going away from toxicity, what if we go towards toxicity? I mean, what could possibly happen, right? Right? I mean, you know, and I bring this up because all these kids out there, you know, the ones I'm talking about, you know, that like take their daddy's AR-15 and 9mm and go back to the school that they're disfranchised from everyone and feel bullied, neglected, abused, and start having one of those school things. So what if that same kid doesn't have access to a firearm or some type of device? You know, I mean, you could go get a butcher knife out of the knife block in the kitchen and yeah. But what if you had a little acumen? You were like, you know, the outcast nerd and you lived in your parents' basement and you used AI to create something that won't take out my classroom, it'll take out the whole school. This is where we're at with AI, that some of these AIs out there are going to do some nefarious things due to nefarious intent by the person that is either asking it for data or inputting data. So while we get distracted, because I want to point this out to you. Let me pull up the article. What was it at? Yep. Well, that's cool. Let me see if that switched. It did switch. That's cool. All right, StreamYard. Y'all updated something. All right. Trump bombs Iran. In June 2025, President Donald Trump ordered U.S. military strikes on 3 key Iranian nuclear facilities, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, please forgive me. As part of an operation dubbed Operation Midnight Hammer. The strikes involved B-2 stealth bombers dropping massive bunker buster bombs on Fordow and Natanz, while Tomahawk missiles targeted Isfahan. Trump claimed the attacks obliterated Iran's nuclear program and asserted that bombs penetrated deep underground sites like it was butter, effectively ending Iran's nuclear ambitions for the foreseeable future. However, preliminary intelligence assessments from the Defense Intelligence Agency cast doubt on the extent of the damage, suggesting the strike sealed entrances to the facilities but did not collapse the underground structures or destroy Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium. These reports indicated the program may have been only set back a month or two. The White House dismissed the assessment as flat out wrong, and Trump maintained his position that the damage was devastating and long-lasting. Now, let me throw in a little a little host's color on that one right there. Trump does not like to lose. He does not like to be portrayed as a loser or one who did not come out on top or who's not the best or who's not the most beautiful. You see a pattern? So there is a type of narcissistic behavior that Trump does possess. You know, and it really can't be competitive because you never really hear, you know, about him gambling on golf courses, you know, like Michael Jordan was doing. some of those guys, you know, they do $1,000 a hole. Yeah, if not more. They're just way out there. So this is part of the look over here. Hey, no, look over here. There's nothing over there. See, folks, moving on right over here. Look, we got plenty for you to see. You know, we're bombing the hell out of Iran. Iran confirmed that its nuclear facilities were badly damaged, but rejected claims of total destruction. The International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA chief, Rafael Grossi, stated that while the sites were significantly damaged, Iran still retained some uranium enrichment capabilities, and the whereabouts of approximately 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium remain unaccounted for. Let me repeat that. Approximately 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium remain unaccounted for. The U.S. strikes came amid escalating conflict between Israel and Iran, which began with Israel airstrikes on Iranian targets June 13th, followed by Iranian missiles and drone attacks on Israel. Trump had brokered a ceasefire between the two nations, but both sides were accused of violating the agreement shortly after. Following the U.S. intervention, Trump warned he would absolutely consider bombing Iran again if intelligence indicated renewed efforts to enrich uranium to weapons-grade levels. How many of you are alive or were old enough to pay attention to or remember the United Soviet Republic, the USSR, when it dissolved? Well, before it dissolved, nobody in Russia went around to all the different countries that once incorporated Russia and gathered all the nuclear weapons and nuclear warheads and nuclear suitcases and nuclear material and said, oh, hey, we need to take it all over here and store it over here. The new Russia. Nope. So all those nuclear materials, I'll just throw a blanket over it, an umbrella. Very few people know where they went. They didn't go all to the same place. They went to the either highest bidder or people that were soliciting for them, or maybe had already bribed for them, whatever that looks like. But more likely than not, because Iran did have, you know, considerable amount of money. They are close to Russia. That most of those Middle Eastern countries are in possession of nuclear weapons or nuclear material, just because it was available on the cheap, on the fly, bargain basement prices. It was just a matter of getting it from point A to point B, and some were very successful at that. So is Iran a nuclear power? Absolutely. Don't think it's not, because Turkey and Pakistan are also a nuclear power, are they not? And we definitely know Israel's a nuclear power. You can bet your bottom dollar that Saudi Arabia is a nuclear power just because of the relationship with the Bush family. And I know, and you're like, why is he talking about all of that when we're talking about artificial intelligence and chemical compounds? Because nuclear weapons are such a, you know, a hot commodity. It's not like, you know, you can just carry it across international borders. It's not like you can put it in your backpack and, you know, jump on Qatari Air and fly to London. No. But you could take an AI created chemical compound. Absolutely. And it really doesn't take much acumen to find out exactly what it takes to create that. All you got to do is just have a good AI and get the right formula, and you're on your way. So there's a lot more in this world to be worried about than just, whether or not Iran has nuclear weapons, because that's something we shouldn't be involved with anyway. Now I get it; they have all these proxies that are, bombing ships, trying to take over ships and all that in the Middle East, but that's a whole separate thing. We don't need to be involved in Israel's war in the Middle East. We've been in the Middle East far too long. You get the hell out of there. But all these are political theater to distract you from what's really going on. And what's really going on is artificial intelligence. I can't beat that dead horse enough. Because we should be, demanding all kind of, this. If AI is not a national security threat, I don't know what is. And to have it available to every Tom, Dick, and Harry without any type of regulatory authority. I mean, you can be 12 years old and get a hold of AI and learn how to create lethal weapons. That's where we're at. I mean, there's no age restriction. There's no keywords like, you type in, blah, 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 I want to make a bomb. That's an example. That's hypothetical. There used to be something called the Anarchist Cookbook that had all that information in there. Well, now it's all in AI. It's readily available to whoever asks the right question. So there's actually really no governance over AI right now. It's it's not even the Wild Wild West. It's way beyond that. It's more like anything goes. The Wild Wild West, you sometimes, might eventually get caught and hung or tried and hung. But yeah, this is where we're at, folks. It's crazy what's going on. So AI is able to develop all these compounds. So if you have, I know y'all going to probably laugh, but they have bomb sniffing drugs and drug sniffing dogs, right? Well, they have machines that do that as well. You may not know about them, but yeah, absolutely. Same principle. So as this stuff is created, there's going to be no register because it's an unknown compound. It's never been made before. Through the medical field and big pharma, and we know how big pharma is. We know they're not our friend. They don't want to. I can't even say the word on YouTube because there's no cure for anything. Absolutely not. There's nothing you can take in this world that'll cure anything. YouTube. So just you guys over there at Google with that little I and your adrenochrome. Yeah. And you see how fast they did it. 40,000 compounds in 6 hours. Just imagine what somebody can do if they really, really, really put some time and effort in it. If we don't get some type of AI regulation, it belongs to the Department of Commerce, but you don't hear anything on it. And the reason you don't is because they need it to run hog wild. AI is the new world order, folks. It's the all-seeing capital I. Man, how did we not see that? We must have been blind. AI is pretty terrifying if you really dig deep into it, and the capabilities that it has, the capabilities that it will have. I mean, it can taste. They're developing these android robots, you know. Eventually, you're not even going to be able to tell, you know, at a distance anyway. When they have all the hallmarks of a human, where do we go from there? If we're still here. But basically, that's just all I want to show you is that this is, hey, baby crab cakes, that it is moving so fast that nobody's paying attention to it, you know. Kind of like crypto. Remember it came out and everybody like, yeah, poo-pooed it. And then it developed. And then before, you know, everybody could really jump in the bandwagon, and most people jumped in too late. There were all these millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires, all those nerds who invested early. You know, I could have, didn't. I never thought it would make it, but here we are. So it'll be interesting to see what the Department of Commerce, their little, it used to be called the AI Safety Institute, and they changed the name to something technology and innovation, because this is AI, artificial intelligence, is Operation Warp Speed 2. If you remember what Warp Speed 1 was, that was to find that thing. So the next one for the Trump administration is Warp Speed 2. And I don't know why people just don't come out and just admit it. Okay. Because over here, you got your DNA. Over here, we got AI. So take the red pill or the blue pill, but actually you're going to take both. They're going to make sure. They will find a reason. Just like they forced everybody. Oh, I got to go get back in line. I got tickets to the Astros. Free for just going. Yeah. Oh, you wrote a whole bunch of stuff over here. What you got? Yeah, I'm gonna let y'all read that. I'm not gonna say it on here on YouTube. If you guys have not checked out Sabrina Wallace yet over on Rumble, Unvaxxer 420, 1X, go check her out over there. She also has a group called Synergy. And I'm not even going to attempt to even try to educate myself in the electrical engineering jargon and technical terms that she uses, because, you know, like I spit out law, that's she spits out that stuff. And for me to even try to emulate it, I'm sure I would bastardize it, diminish its value. So go check her out and learn a little bit more about what they have, you can call them whoever you want, your government, military, industrial complex, the elite, the Illuminati, whatever, what they've been doing since 2015. We are wired into the internet of bodily things already. Yeah. Kind of sucks. And that's why I say that, because, you know, I can't tell you where this is going to go, but the majority of the people, and I had some friends that I went to school with. Most of the people my age that I went to school with are having to deal with their parents. Their parents already haven't passed away yet, and they're dealing with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia. And dementia, oh my God, what a horrible, horrible disease. Horrible. Imagine, you adored your father or your mother or both, and now they don't even recognize you, and they wake up terrified, and they start to attack you because you're in their house and they don't know who you are. That's what I hear these just terrifying stories that my friends go through. My buddy was going through that with his mom. He'd be outside talking to me, and she'd come out there and boom, start shit with him. Sometimes that got physical, and I told him, I said, look, bro, somebody's going to walk by, drive by, stand outside and see that and take it the wrong way, and you're going to end up in jail for domestic abuse because your mom beat your ass. So what if they came out with something that you could take where you wouldn't get dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's? Because you went through this with your parents or your grandparents, and there's something that you can do to prevent all that. Well, you were sold. Absolutely. Talk about bait and switch. Oh, your parents passed away from Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, or some other crazy ass disease? Oh, well, we got something for that. Got a little something. Artificial intelligence created it. Yeah. Here, just give us a little swab. Yeah, some of those skin cells. Thank you. Stick it in the machine. Dunk. Your little vial pops out, or your little pin. Mirror. There you go. Ta-ding. You'll live a long, happy life. How many people do you think are going to do that? Going to be getting in line for it. And what if your insurance covered it? Wouldn't that incentivize it even more? Absolutely, this is going to happen because there are hereditary diseases out there. And we're on our way. So the same principle, it's going to work with anybody out there who has nefarious intentions. Just imagine this. We have this, we had an opioid epidemic, right? That basically was, from the big pharmaceuticals. Those people, I don't know how many thousands passed away due to that addiction. But they just fine them, don't send them to prison. So really no accountability, which is for the norm. But we currently have a fentanyl epidemic, right? And, allegedly it was coming in through the southern border, but yet you still see record amounts of fentanyl being confiscated and seized by all law enforcement agencies across the country. Well, they're coming in through the northern border. It's more porous than the southern border. Well, where's the fentanyl come from? China. China's our friend, right? Oh, they're not? Yeah, that's why they're sending the fentanyl. They're using the Mexican cartels to incorporate it in the United States. What if? What if there was a coordinated effort to, guess what? On Labor Day, we're going to release a new batch of our pills across the nation. Not only are they good, but they're too good. And it just wipes out everybody. That's a possibility. And then now you have the civil infrastructure that has to deal with that mess. I mean, there's all kind of things that can happen. All the illegal immigrants, it's my opinion, but they were allowed to come in so much as our government was flying them in. Absolutely. Our government was flying illegal immigrants into our country. No accountability. You know, I just don't have much faith in the Trump administration to do the right thing because they haven't. They look like Charlie Brown and Lucy trying to kick a field goal. Look, I'm going to kick a field goal. Oh, oof. Damn it, Lucy. So there's a lot of look over here, look over there, look over here, look over there. All those illegal immigrants. We can't round them up fast enough. We need to get them faster. There's too many. I think it was in this article. I'm going to get back to it. But there was one sentence I should have highlighted it. I can paraphrase it. I'll find it in a minute. But basically, the paraphrasing was, when could a researcher read millions of white papers? That's what AI does. It can disseminate all kind of data, just stuff that would be humanly impossible to do over one's lifetime. Almost instantaneously. That's what's at their fingertips. So this is what it does and how fast it can create these things. So let me show you some more of this article. I'll be a little vague with some of the details because we were told basically to withhold some of the specifics. Broadly, the way it works for this experiment is that we have a lot of data sets historically of molecules that have been tested to see whether they're toxic or not. In particular, the one that we focus on here is VX. It is an inhibitor of what is known as acetylcholinesterase. I'll say it fast. Acetylcholinesterase. Okay. Whatever you do, anything muscle related, your neurons use acetylcholinesterase as a signal to basically say, go move your muscles. The way VX is lethal is it actually stops your diaphragm, your lung muscles from being able to move, so your lungs become paralyzed. Obviously, this is something you want to avoid. So historically, experiments have been done with different types of molecules to see whether they inhibit acetylcholinesterase. And so we built up these large data sets of molecule structures and how toxic they are. We can use these data sets in order to create a machine learning model, which basically learns what parts of the molecule structure are important for toxicity and which are not. Then we can give this machine learning model new molecules, potentially new drugs that maybe have never been tested before. And it will tell us this is predicted to be toxic or this is predicted not to be toxic. This is a way for us to virtually screen very, very fast a lot of molecules and sort of kick out the ones that are predicted to be toxic. In our study here, what we did is we inverted that. Obviously, we use this model to try to predict toxicity. So skipping down, second. Your paper says that by doing this work, you and your colleagues have still crossed a gray moral boundary, demonstrating that it is possible to design virtual potential toxic molecules without much in the way of effort, time, or computational resources. We can easily erase the thousands of molecules we created, but we cannot delete the knowledge of how to recreate them. What was running through your head as you were doing this work? And oh, these are the okay. They're doing questions and answers. I see how this is structured. I haven't read this article, as you can tell. We looked over towards Silicon Valley. There's a group called OpenAI. Wonder who they are. Never heard of them, right? They released a top-line language model called GPT-3. It's almost like a chatbot. It basically can generate sentences and text that is almost indistinguishable from humans. They actually let you use it for free whenever you want, but you have to get a special access token from them to do so. At any point, they could cut off your access from those models. We were thinking something like that could be a useful starting point for potentially sensitive models, such as toxicity models. Science is all about open communication, open access, open data sharing. Restrictions are antithetical to that notion. But a step going forward could be to at least responsibly account for those who's using your resources. This goes on more and more. And the last line, I don't want to be an alarmist in saying there's going to be an AI-driven chemical warfare. I don't think that's the case now. I don't think it's going to be the case anytime soon, but it's something that's starting to become a possibility. That's where we're at, folks, with AI. Y'all should pay attention to it and see what's going, because we need more regulation, and nobody's paying attention to it. Nobody. It's insane. Everybody's just jumping on the wagon going, yeah, great, this is the greatest thing on earth. And it is until it isn't. Because if you didn't hear me on my presentation at the Sky Pony Gallery on Sunday, I broke that almost 5-hour video. I broke it up into 4 parts. It's replaying on YouTube throughout the week. I think the next segment starts in 10 minutes. So stay tuned for that. I really do appreciate it if you'd watch it, and you might learn a little bit more about AI, all the current capabilities. But it's progressing so fast, so rapidly, that it's hard to keep up, because it's a race. This is a race between China and the United States. I'm sure there's other countries like maybe Japan. Taiwan obviously is the crown jewel for AI and robotics. But as far as a superpower, that's it. Because whatever country retains the AI, the alpha AI, yeah, that's a scary thought. Because when somebody who actually wants to be the demigod, has a $330 million yacht fleet, a fleet. Those people are they don't even think like normal people. They're on a completely different level for a reason. Stay tuned. Catch my Sky Pony Gallery Part 2 coming up. If you didn't get a chance to listen to Noel, he gave a nice little sermon, because he really got spiritual about God and his life, and how it saved him from doing the heinous moral acts as a man in black. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep punching on the AI as much as possible. I'm going to try to get with the Rice University researchers and get them on the show. I haven't, I hit the writer up, but I haven't hit the actual professors and associate professors and whoever is over there. It's going to get crazy. This world's going to be crazy. So, all right. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening. Stay tuned. Got another video coming up, and I don't know when I will be going live again. I know I need to do part 20 with Anne for the last part of her 19-part series on trusts. So stay tuned for that. As always, the outro is coming up. So if you don't want to stay tuned, good night. Thank you for hanging around after the show. I want to present to you Tailor-Made Trust, featuring Anne LaFleur's Trust Series, available at tailormadetrust.com, as well as thefearlessfloydshow.com store. Here are a handful of the available trusts that can be built, custom tailored to your needs and desires. 25 different trusts, plus the DNA Trust Addendum. And as always, Anne LaFleur's classic trusts and ancillary classes, and also Anne's books on trust and specialty trust, which I also co-authored. If you'd like to get a class, a book, or have a trust custom built for you, always available at thefearlessfloydshow.com store. and I'll see you in the next show. Thank you for watching and have an awesome day.